Mhm.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's interview. I have the distinct pleasure of having Chantal Mills, founder of the Ottawa Canine School, with me today. We are going to talk about something that's very topical, that is on the minds of many of you, is what happens when I go back to work and my dog now either experiences separation anxiety, is lonely. How do I prevent that? How can I ensure my dog is going to be okay when I go back to work or life resumes some type of normalcy? So I have here with us an expert in separation anxiety. This is what she does as a career. She's a professional trainer, and she does work with families who have dogs who have experienced separation anxiety. So she's the perfect expert for me to have this conversation with and now share it with you. So welcome, Chantal.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. As I was mentioning to you, and I'm sure you've had a lot of people ask you the same question, what is going to happen when life comes back to some sense of normalcy? And now, you know, my dog, who's been following me around all day long and going for multiple walks, will now have all that gone. What's going to happen? So you and I are going to have a conversation about what people can do now, if they haven't already started, to help their pup feel okay when they go back to work, when life seems to resume some type of normalcy. We don't know what that's going to look like for a while yet, but at least start helping our dogs understand that they're going to be okay when we're no longer present all this time. So I want to tell those that are watching a little bit about your background. So you're from the education field, which is fantastic. That's my background too, just so interesting. So for nearly 20 years, you were in the field of education as an elementary school teacher, intermediate and high school teacher. Then you were a guidance counselor. Then you were vice principal. And you are the person who loves to help people who are now at the end of a leash, right? That's your profession.
Yes.
So you're helping those who have pups, and you're helping them to help their pups. So you have a passion for teaching. I'm a student of yours at the Ottawa Canine School. So I understand who you are in that field because I am one of your students. And I want to talk about your credentials a little bit. So you are a certified separation anxiety trainer. You are a certified pet dog trainer. You're a member of the American Association of Pet Dog Trainers, a member of the International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants, and you're a member of the Pet Professional Guild. You regularly attend workshops, of course, and seminars and webinars to keep up to date with what's happening in the world of dog training and helping dogs and their owners. So how about I hand this over to you a little bit? I've given those that are watching a little bit of the big overview, but what brings you to this world of dog training? Who are you in this profession, and what do you love most about it in your experience? And tie that all up for us before we dive into separation anxiety and how we can help our pups.
Oh, my goodness, that's a big question. Yes, I guess I am a teacher, I think, at heart. That's sort of what I tried to get away from it. My grandmother was a teacher. My parents were teachers. I did not want to be a teacher. I wanted to do something different, but I wasn't good enough in math and science to be a vet. And so goal profession involved animals, and back in my young mind, the only way to do that was to be a veterinarian. And you know, I know better now that you can work with animals without having to go to med school. But I became a teacher, and I'm still a teacher. I've been teaching English now remotely to high school students. I've taught cooking classes. So I do love that contact with people, but animals has always been a major part of my life. My mom dropped off some journals the other day, travel journals, and all of her notes involved me doing something with animals. It wasn't about the sightseeing, it was always animals. And so combining the teaching and the animals and helping people understand their pets better, basically seeing the breakthroughs, that's my paycheck in life. I'm not doing it. It's not about the money. It's not about anything other than helping people be as kind, efficient trainers as they can, and to do it as ethically as possible. That's my life mission. And so that's why I created the dog training school. That's why I'm offering the course to people to become dog trainers, because I want to build a little army of people who are going out there and helping people and dogs. I think it's really, really important. And the separation anxieties comes from when I first started training. I mean, a long time ago, my first clients, I didn't have any experience. I really didn't know what I was doing. I certainly wasn't qualified to do any behavior modification. And I had a client who called about barking, and I thought, oh, I can help with barking. But it turns out, I realized quickly that it was more about just barking at a noise. The dog was distressed. And that stuck with me. And I thought, how can I help this dog? What do I do to be able to help this dog? And so that's where I started learning as much as I could about separation anxiety. And then I got the certification so that there's always things to learn. There's still more to learn about it, but it's a really timely as well, because now it is, as you mentioned, quite a concern for people as we go back to hopefully some form of normalcy, and what that's going to do to our dog, what impact it's going to have to our pets with our.
So let's jump into that conversation then. So right now, not everyone's gone back to work. At the time of recording, we are starting to have some regulations still be in place, but we're allowed to now go to certain places. Some businesses are starting to open. Some people are starting to go back to work, but we're not anywhere near everyone back to work and it being normal again. So our pets still have us at home quite a long time during the day. And what is going to happen if we don't do something now to help our pets start to detach from having us a home all the time, to being a little bit more independent, a little bit more comfortable if they're alone and we're no longer at home all the time. So what do you foresee can happen? And let's talk about some strategies that our viewers can do so that they're not in that position later. Let's go there.
Well, I think a new situation. It's not something that's been studied. We can't necessarily predict behavior. We can predict behavior to a certain extent, but we might not be able to really know the impact of COVID on our pets. I know that I think there is reason to be concerned, and there is a lot we can do now. At the same time, I'm not sure that we can cause, I feel a little bit uncomfortable with the concept that we can cause separation anxiety in our dogs.
Okay.
I think that what we need to be concerned are the dogs that maybe already have underlying anxiety issues.
Okay.
Those that maybe were already recovering from separation anxiety, they see a setback because we aren't practicing those exits as much anymore, and the whole pattern, their human's pattern, is completely changed. But we might see some separation distress. We might see some dogs, sort of go, hey, life has changed and I wasn't ready for this, return to work, or what's going on, and all of a sudden I'm alone. And I certainly have noticed in my own dog, who's recovered from separation anxiety, that his behavior has changed in the house, following me a lot more, not going into his crate. So dogs are amazing at finding patterns. That's what they do. They look at us and they find our pattern, and that's reassuring to them. And so I think what we can do to help them is to start recreating that pattern of leaving the house, getting them used to, what do? We leave the house.
Right.
Well, we put our shoes on, we get our coat on, we go sit in the car, turn on your car, back out of the driveway, come back in, and maybe put a camera on your dog if you really want to see how your dog's handling it, and see if you have any reason to be concerned, and practice that routine. Make your lunch or whatever it is that you would normally do when you go to work. The more we can start incorporating that, I think the less of a shock it's going to be when overnight our routine completely changes.
Yeah, and that's what happened, right? A few weeks ago, or a couple of months ago now, our routines changed literally overnight. So we don't want to shock our dogs into that again. And we certainly want to take the opportunity now to, like you say, recreate the routine of going back to work. You might not be gone 8 hours a day, but you're starting to get your dog used to you leaving, no longer in the home. What do you say to people who are starting to say, let's discuss separation anxiety? What does it look like? Let's go
Yeah.
there. So what does separation anxiety look like? It might be different from one dog to the next, but if we're going to generalize, what does it look like?
Well, it is a true panic disorder. So it is when, and it can happen at any time. You don't necessarily have to leave the house for the dog to start panicking. So I have some of my clients where they're just starting to gather their things, or they're putting on their socks, right, shoes, and that's when the dog starts having an emotional reaction to realizing that their person is leaving, or their people are going to leave. And it really is it's a panic attack.
Mhm.
And if I give you an analogy where maybe you're terrified of spiders and I'm terrified of spiders, put us both in a room and we're surrounded by spiders, we might both be having an attack, a panic attack, but it might look completely different.
Right.
You might be trying to kill all the spiders and, reacting and trying to get out, and I might be experiencing the same level of distress, but all inside, and I might be trembling and I might be just frozen. And if the third person might be just trying to escape. So dogs will react to that differently. So we see dogs destroy, and usually the destruction happens near the exits because they're trying to get out.
Mhm.
So either window frames, door frames, the floor, there's a lot of destruction. It could be something as very subtle as well as whining. And sometimes people don't even realize their dog has separation or isolation distress until the neighbor mentions it.
Right.
Because the dog's barking or whining all day. And it's normal for dogs to bark, and it's normal for dogs to whine, but this is a different level. It's a nonstop. And there's a certain, I've seen so much footage now that I can tell, that went up a notch, or it's a different quality of whine. And then it'll escalate, and you might see pacing, you'll see drooling possibly. The dogs typically don't eat when their people are away. When you're too distressed, when you're having a panic attack, the last
Mhm.
thing you can think about is eating. Your digestive system just can't handle that. You might also see some soiling in the house. So that is also very, very common symptoms. So and you want to also make sure that those symptoms aren't symptoms of something else. If it's, you want to rule out maybe a medical issue or boredom, or there could be another cause to it. But for separation anxiety, those are typically what dogs will do.
Do you recommend that people crate their dogs for 8 to 10 hours a day? And we can talk about crating. I think it's an
Mm-hmm.
important subject. I think we definitely can use the crates to the advantage of the dog.
Mm-hmm.
The dog feels safe, but it can also become no longer comfortable for the dog. So let's talk about crate training your dog if you're not already doing that. And then
Mm-hmm.
let's switch to the dogs that are crate trained. How long should they be staying in their crate? Do they need breaks during the day? I'll let you answer that one next.
So are we talking about crating dogs with separation anxiety, or just crating dogs in general?
How about we do both so that we can
Okay.
touch on both, and at least if somebody needs more information, they can reach out to you. So
Right.
this is not this.
So with separation,
I was going to say this conversation is a conversation starter. It's for
yeah,
people to get basic information so that if they feel they need more hands-on help from somebody, a professional like you, I want them to reach out to you.
yeah. Um, I think with separation anxiety, the answer is it depends.
Okay.
um, it really depends. Most of the time, it is better not to crate the dog that has an anxiety, underlying anxiety, because when you're crating the dog, you're kind of confining them, and so that extra confinement can increase their level of anxiety.
Mhm.
And so if I'm helping someone with a dog with separation anxiety, oftentimes we'll do a test where we'll do an assessment in the crate and outside of the crate.
Mhm.
And so far with my clients, 100% of them have chosen to after seeing what they've seen on video, they've chosen to not crate their dog because there's a significant significantly less anxiety going on when the dog has the freedom. But if you've got a puppy, you have other concerns. You've got, is the dog going to get into things? So it depends on the age of the dog. I'm a big fan of the crate. My dog's 14. He has his crate. The door's open. He goes in there. He loves it. I think the crate training is an amazing tool. It's not a punishment. It's, as you said, a safe place.
Yes.
Never.
Never.
Exactly. It's great if you need to bring your dog to the vet. You never know when you might need to do that, and they have to crate the dog. It's a less stressful for the dog if they're already crate trained and comfortable in the crate. Same goes with grooming, when we'll be able to go back. We are, I guess, able to go back to grooming. Starting. Some groomers crate the dogs as well. So then that's grooming can already be stressful, but if your dog hates the crate on top of that, you're adding another layer of stress. Travel, all of those things. I think you might not even realize how handy the crate can be.
Right. So it's not something you would want to introduce if your dog is showing any stress and forcing them into and closing the door. Because there is a strategy in making sure that the crate is a yummy, delicious, comfortable place for them. And if you want to introduce the crate because you haven't before, there are definitely strategies to follow to ensure that that doesn't become a negative association to whatever you're doing that's not what you want the crate to be, right? You want that crate to be an association of, oh, I love going in my crate. I feel comfortable in my crate. I feel safe in my crate. So there are strategies to crate train. So if you haven't started crate training, it might be something that you could look into to start.
Turn it into a game.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of games for crate training.
Yeah.
So if somebody doesn't want to crate train their dog, what would be a strategy for them then? Do you have the run of the house? Do you section off a part of the house? What would you recommend for those that, I don't feel comfortable crate training for now. I'd like to have them stay home, not crate. So what would you suggest for those that are curious about that?
I like the of a penned off area, or a cordoned off area, if you will, that's dog safe, or especially if you've got a puppy, you want to make it a puppy safe area, a place where they can sleep and do whatever they need to do without putting themselves in danger, but still have a little bit of freedom. And for dogs with separation anxiety, again, you just want to see, you would film it. So if you see that the dog's trying to climb over the gate to escape, you might want to rethink that system. But if your dog is going to destroy or is going to get into something, you might want to have that safe zone and make it super fun for the dog to be there, and leave the dog for the time that the dog can tolerate being left.
Right.
You don't just throw the dog in the pen or say, hey, I've got to go, and you're out for 4 hours and you come back and it was not a fun experience for your dog. The next time it's going to be even more challenging to encourage your dog to get in. That trick of throwing the treat and getting your dog in there only works for so many times.
The treat's gone.
Exactly. And then after that, they catch on and they don't go anymore.
Right. But that's something somebody can do now, though, is create this area for them and build this positive association for them, and then give them the frozen Kong with the peanut butter in it, and feed them in there, and make it fun in there, right? So you create this association that, oh, you're going to leave me here? Oh, no problem. I love it here. I'm very comfortable. Yeah, that's.
And what you do want to see your dog be able to relax, self-soothe, and settle. Dogs don't teach themselves how to settle, so you have to help them learn how to settle down, and the crate's a great tool for that. And so the dog that can fall asleep in the crate, and that's fantastic. The dog has figured out how to have a nap and how to self-soothe and how to be happy in the crate. And I think the crate right now in particular can be a great tool, because with dogs being in the house, when you figure, hey, I'm home, might as well just keep my dog around. But what's happening, I feel, is not getting as much sleep. I've got a 10-year-old, so going to school right now. My husband's working from home. I'm working from home. So there's only 3 of us in the house, but there's a lot of traffic
Yeah.
constant traffic. So my dog is not getting the same quality of sleep.
Right.
So this is where the crate can be handy. When he's in the crate, we can have all that traffic and he gets better sleep. And so more sleep means a more tolerant dog, fewer other issues. And overall, I think it's a really great strategy because he's also, that's part of his routine. When we leave, he goes into the crate,
So
trying
what
to
about
keep it.
those dogs that are following their owners all day long? So what do you suggest to them? Because now they know that, okay, it was nice. You know, I liked having you nearby. I took my pictures. I posted online, look, my little helper. But now the dog doesn't want to be separated, right? So now the dog is glued to you. And what do? We call them a little chien push in French. So
Yeah.
what do you do? What do you suggest to those owners who have a dog that are glued to them, you know, and you know it's time to create some of that distance and let the dog be okay. The dog needs to learn it's okay if I'm going to be in the other room. So what do you suggest for those owners who are looking for that type of
Well,
tip and suggestion?
I guess, yeah, it would depend on the age of the dog. And again, just setting it up. So what were you doing before? So if you were doing it before, then it's probably easier to get back into that routine and just do as you were doing and have designated crate times. So maybe if you're working from home between 10 and noon, the dog goes in the crate. And then, you know, after lunch, maybe the dog goes in to the crate for another nap or something like that. If your dog is new to the, and you would start, obviously you wouldn't do 2 hours stretch of time. Or maybe you don't want to do the crate training, then you can send your dog or teach your dog to go to his bed or her bed and sort of have a spot where nobody disturbs the dog when the dog is on the bed or on his bed. And that's the dog's spot, so that the dog can really get a rest and not necessarily follow you everywhere all the time. Yeah, and there's not necessarily anything wrong with a chien de push or a Velcro dog or a shadow dog, unless they're really not getting the sleep that they need. And all dogs, no matter what age they are, need a lot of sleep. So we should be thinking about helping them get rest.
Because a lot of these dogs are COVID dogs, right? They're COVID puppies, COVID dogs. They've been adopted during COVID to be companionship, to be, you know, someone, something to go for walks and, you know, to be that new family member. So we're going to experience an influx of, so what do I do now when I go back to work? So what about the dogs that are getting multiple walks a day? Should those start to be removed and reduced so that you are creating a more sustainable routine compared to when you're going to go back to work?
Yeah, so you bring up a really good point, because those dogs that have been adopted, and this is their normal, this is all they've known, mom and dad, or mom or dad, or, you know, at home, and multiple walks a day, and then all of a sudden that's all going to change. They're going to need to adapt new reality. And so I would definitely reduce the amount of walks to what you are going to be able to sustain when you are back at work. Maybe you want to go back to being the weekend warrior and doing more on the weekends when you have time with your dog, but then during the week, and it's a lot of stimulation. I've actually reduced my dog's walks quite a bit, because at first I was like, yay, I've got all this time for dog walking, and yeah, I just thought he's so tired, and I thought, why is he so tired? And this is me. This is my fault. He was like, I don't want to go again. And it's not sustainable. It's not something that I can keep up after. So, you know, as much as it's fun now, you don't want to set your dog up for a big life change when things do get back to normal, unless you're considering getting a dog walker to keep it up. So that might be an option too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to suggest that maybe there's that break in the day, right? If someone has a concern, my dog's too young to be left alone. We can talk about ages. How much time should a dog be left alone based on their age? You can look into dog walkers, someone to come and check in on your dog, different kennels. You know, you want a kennel that's going to be fun and positive training there for your dog. Maybe kennel free if that's something you're looking for. So you can start doing some research now to find maybe a kennel or even a dog walker that can break that day up for you. That might be a way to integrate a dog into the new routine that is going to be changing. So how long should a dog stay home alone or in a crate? And I know it's age dependent and it's based on their level of comfort, but what would you suggest for those that have no idea?
How long can your dog hold it before they have to go to the bathroom? Might be a good guideline. If your dog can hold it for 8 hours, then usually adult dogs can. But if you've never crated your dog and you're starting from scratch, then I would do gradual. I would maybe, hey, you're going to go do grocery shopping, crate your dog, set up the camera, see how that goes while you're gone, so that you could see, what did my dog do? Did my dog paw at the crate, bite at the crate, or did he just go, oh, okay, and fall asleep? And then gradually build on that. That would be the best way to go about it. But generally, dogs can handle easily 5-6 hours. Again, depends on the age, depends on the dog.
Don't do that to a puppy. Please don't do that to a puppy.
No, not for a puppy. Exactly. Depends on the age.
Yeah,
I'm talking adult dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, it depends on how long they can hold their bladder, and puppies cannot. Not for long, depending on the age, of course. With Oaken, our 5-month-old, he can hold his bladder much longer now than say a month ago or 2 months ago. So you can test it too. You can test it while you're home. How long can your dog hold the bladder? It's different training for puppies, of course, but as they get older, certainly testing, if I don't take my dog out for an hour, or don't take my dog out for 2 hours because they're having their nap, that gives you a good indication how long they can hold their bladder. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, so what happens if a dog is showing whining, clawing, and they're just not happy being left alone? Is that when you would recommend, okay, we need some professional help here? Maybe it's time for us to call in the troops, call in someone with some expertise. I know that you're doing some virtual training. At what point do you say, you know what, I don't know if I can do this alone. Maybe I hire somebody for a few weeks just to give me the tools that I need, so that when I do go back to work, we've got all the best in our toolkit and we've done a really good job for our pup.
Yeah, I mean, I would, if I were concerned about it, I would definitely recommend reaching out and at least starting a conversation and seeing, do I have something to be concerned about here? And start there. If it is separation anxiety, then it's not going to go away on its own, because it's PTSD. It's a panic disorder. It's like that person who's terrified of flying. You're not going to say, well, it's okay, I got you tickets to go to Hawaii, let's go. I can't go on a plane. Like, I just can't handle you leaving me alone. So, and dogs have different levels of, as we said before, to show that stress. Some dogs are very subtle, and other dogs are over the top in their expression of it. But over time, it can get worse, because now any sign that you're leaving can cause them that reaction. And so they've been sensitized to the departures, which is not a good thing, because now every little thing, it's like a sunburn. Every little thing now gets them into that panic disorder. So the sooner you look into it, the better. And maybe you'll realize, well, it's just a training issue, or I just need to do things differently, or maybe it's the crate setup, or maybe you need to turn on the TV, and that's all it took, some background noise, and your dog's fine. Yeah. And the thing about what I like about my separation anxiety is it was always done virtually before the pandemic. It's all virtual. So the program is already that way, and it's so great, because you can be a fly on the wall and I watch the dog without physically being there, and that makes it so much more of a real experience. And so if I can see what's going on, or if a professional, someone who really knows what they're looking at, can see what's going on, and then you've got professional advice saying, yes, you know, we do need to work on this, or, you know, here's what I think, and here's what I'm seeing.
Because there's never any shame in asking for help. You know,
Oh,
we
no.
don't go to school to learn how to train our dogs. We wing it for the most part, or we are based on how we used to train dogs. And the dog training world is going through a huge revolution right now. I absolutely love, love, love it all, especially, you know, the positive trainers. That movement is where I hang my hat. And there's a lot of really good things that you can do with the right guidance that you're going to see results immediately and over time with your pup. And what you can do for one behavior you don't want will transfer to another behavior. And if you ask for help, you're going to build your toolkit, you'll build your confidence, you'll build your dog's confidence, and you'll have a happy puppy and a happy home. So I recommend it. I absolutely recommend it. And that's why I wanted to bring Chantal to the conversation, because this is a resource for you. Chantal, how do they get in touch with you? So let's just do website, because everything's on your website.
Yeah, the website, although I need to update it now that we're, I need to update it, but the website is ottawacanineschool.com. So that's letter K number 9. So ottawacanineschool.com, and all my contact information is there.
And I'll be sure that the link is in anything that gets posted online, whether it's on my blog or in my social media, so that you can reach out to Chantal. You can reach out to me if you have questions. If I feel I'm not the right expert, I will refer you to someone who is like Chantal, and Chantal will do the same. But Chantal's been doing this far longer than I have, and she's got a few more certifications than I do. So I do support what Chantal has done and what she's doing, and she is a resource for you. I'm a resource for you. If you do feel that you can't do this on your own, you're really unsure, just book a consultation, at least get some advice there to get you started. And if you feel that then you want more help, then you can move into something that's more a private one-on-one, or join a group class or something to that effect. So thank you so much, Chantal. Any closing thoughts to inspire our pet owners who have listened to us and now they're like, all right, I can do this? So what do you want to leave them with?
I really feel like I want to say that there always is hope. There is hope, and you will find someone who can, who knows how you feel, who can relate, and who has tools to help you. So there's always hope, and there's always a solution. Where there are problems, there are solutions. Something like separation anxiety is dogs recover from it. So that's, again, a message of hope. With puppies, it just takes patience, and your efforts will pay off. And there's always someone who can help. You know, we're here, Parrot's here, and I'm here. There are wonderful professionals out there that want to help and have you have the best relationship with your dog.
Yes, yes. And we can see what's possible maybe when you can't. So we are here to help. So thank you again, Chantal. Thank you to those who have watched and listened. Again, you're not alone. We are here to help, and we are grateful that you are taking the time to help your pup in any way to ensure that your pup is happy. So thank you, Chantal.
Thank you, Parrot.